Their job is to help us stay in the present. They grow, make you feel better. They blossom, they thrive, and then they're gone.
So maybe that's why gardens, maybe now, are more important than ever. Because
better, more fertilizer, more deadheading to create this beautiful garden. But I think a lot of the times we don't get to actually sit and just exist in it.
But if all it ever did is flower, you wouldn't get the tomato. And then you wouldn't eat the tomato. Then the plant wouldn't die. You need all of those stages to hit. And then you go, oh, wow, what an experience. Where
The Helpful Gardeners, the podcast that digs into the buzziest plant trends and news you need to know, regardless of your growing zone. Colin is a skilled horticulturist with decades of growing experience across Canada. Brandi is the greenest of green thumbs with a love of asking questions. Welcome to our garden nook.
Come and say hi. This is going to be the final day that you're down here.
it's the final day that we're down here.
Okay, so if you want that vibe, come down. How long are you here till?
So normally we wrap up at around, well, depending on how busy we are, 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Okay, so tons of time.
Yep.
And if you've never, met Colin, you've been listening to the podcast for a while and you have a planty question, you're totally free for questions, right?
That's why I'm here.
Well, today I really want to wrap up Earth Week with sort of a nice discussion on the idea of, earth stewardship and of our gardens. And basically something came across my feed that I really wanted to bring to your attention. It was Kristen Griffith Vanderyacht, who is a celebrity floral designer, a floral photographer, and the owner of a floral design studio called Wild Bloom in Seattle, Washington, also seen on Netflix's The Big Flower Fight. So if you've seen any of those, then you may have seen this person. But this was the quote: "Flowers are not supposed to last. Their job is to help us stay in the present. They grow, make you feel better. They blossom, they thrive, and then they're gone. You have to stay in the present. You have to stop. You have to be in the moment. Otherwise, you're going to blink, and what's going to happen? They're going to be gone."
Don't you hate it when somebody is so right in their money and you hate it because you love your flowers and you don't want them to go away?
Well, that's exactly it. So I feel like we go back to our why, and why do we garden? And it's to make beautiful things and to feel better in the spaces that we create, right? And I feel like we're always chasing the bloom, right? I think it was last year you said, normalize brown leaves. And I think that's sort of the point of this quote is, we're always thriving for the better, more fertilizer, more deadheading to create this beautiful garden. But I think a lot of the times we don't get to actually sit and just exist in it.
We're so driven by this idea of how it has to look and what it has to be. How many times do we hear people say in October, November, and they're like, the snow can come anytime now, because it's now becoming tedious, and you're going out there and you're watering the garden and you're like, but you don't want to stop because you got to keep the flowers alive. And now it's become a burden, a chore. Instead of that, when my Christmas cactus, for example, when they bloom, love it. Jenny and I are like, oh my God, did you see the buds? Did you see the buds? Oh my God, they're about to flower. Oh, it looks like. And then they go and you kind of like, oh, okay, cool. It's not sad. And then they come back again. You're like, oh my God. So I like it, but I do wish my flowers stuck around longer.
Right. I feel like for a lot of the time, that perfectionism that you're talking about does get exhausting. Yep. And I feel like even for the human condition, that's not sustainable. I think even as humans, we're constantly chasing, the smaller shirt size, or, we're chasing ways to be younger. And I think that just kind of naturally falls into the gardening space as well. And you're right. It can lead to burnout and just this exhaustion.
Well, if all you're doing is seeking to be happy, you will never be happy. Because every time you achieve something, you're like, oh, okay, but I can be happier. Instead of just accepting the good and the bad. And when the good happens, you're like, now I am happy. You're not chasing it. And I think that's what we're guilty of. And maybe more so, maybe that's why gardens, maybe now, are more important than ever because of that, because of the moment, because it grounds you, because you know what? I absolutely could starve myself. I could work out. I could do all of those things, and I could change my physique, and I could drop a size, and I could do all of that. Am I going to be happy? Is it going to be sustainable? Am I going to miss out on life? Am I going to be so focused on, oh, look at my buff build on the gram, that I like, people are like, well, we haven't seen you in 6 months.
Yeah. I love that you said that. It's it's the missing out on the life. And I think that is exactly the purpose of this quote. And what I think we have never really thought about when it comes to flowers in general is like, you do miss out on the little things that happen in the garden. For example, you miss out on the bee that's pollinating the flower. You miss out on the ladybug that is, crawling up your tree to help you with an aphid problem. Like all the little things, like some of the little things that you've seen in your garden that you were so happy that you caught.
Yep. It almost feels to me where like at the end of the year, I absolutely could throw in the towel and be like, I'm not watering my flowers anymore. There is part of my brain that goes, well, if you do that, people will judge you and they'll say that you're a really crappy gardener. And that's what plays in my head. So I'm like, I got to get out there. I got to do it. And I end up becoming chained to it. Instead of being like, yeah, okay, so what? Some flowers died. Okay, so what? But while that was happening, I was over here looking at this.
Yeah, or like when someone asks you, oh, how's your garden doing? You only focus on the successes, or you don't really, right? You don't ever be like, oh, well, I suck.
Yeah.
And but you're more so like, oh my gosh, I grew this amazing cucumber. I am amazing. It's almost like your stories become this social feed of only showing the amazing parts of your garden.
100% we get tied into it. And I get it. Like, what do I want to see? Okay, if I'm looking at my garden, no phone, no Instagram, do I want to see a brown wilted leaf, or do I want to see a scarlet, red, and yellow dahlia? I want to see the dahlia. So that's what I take the picture of. Except what we don't realize is that when I go out and look at my garden, I do also see the brown leaf. When I post that, nobody sees the brown leaf. They only see the good. And we're all striving for this level of excellence that really is unattainable. Enjoy them, because that quote and that flower, that's what it's all about. Enjoy it in short bursts.
I think we could also expand this a little bit to more than just our garden, but also seasons. How many times do we sit in the wintertime just complaining about how cold it is or how, dead everything looks? But in reality, there's beauty in every season. And I actually had this thought over the winter season, because I normally deal with some that seasonal sort of depression stuff where you don't feel like doing anything. It's hard to get outside and all of those things. But then I kind of scale it down and I think to myself, how many winters do I have left?
It's that whole thing. If you arbitrarily hate Mondays, you've decided I hate Mondays. Mondays are the day I hate, and you're Garfield basically. But no, and I get it. Mondays can be a tough day. I understand that. But if you arbitrarily hate Mondays, you may also hate a Tuesday. Thursday might not go your way. Saturday might suck. But you hate Mondays no matter what. 1/7 of your life is already missing. And it's the one I try and say, because, okay, so when you said, how often do we sit around and complain about winter? I feel like I'm being attacked.
I think there's a lot of people thinking they got attacked.
It's that quote where if you sit around and you hate winter, you're silly, because you're going to have the same amount of winter and more hate. Yeah. Look at our tomato plants. Okay, you put a seed in the ground, you're excited, then nothing happens. Then a week, 2 weeks, whatever, you get that sprout. You're excited again. Then nothing really happens. You look after the sprout. Then you get your first flower, and you're excited. But if all it ever did is flower, you wouldn't get the tomato. And then you wouldn't eat the tomato. Then the plant wouldn't die. You need all of those stages to hit, and then you go, oh, wow, what an experience. Where if you put a seed in and a tomato came out of the ground, you would miss all the rest of it. So yeah, there is the beauty in the temporary.
Yeah. And I think when we expand it into Earth Week as well, I think that we can often be overwhelmed by a lot of the, the bigger picture of things when it comes to Earth Week, Earth Day. But I think there's also space to appreciate all the wonderful things that we have about Earth. And I think what a great lesson to learn ahead of the gardening season. And for us here at the core, and actually getting to talk to a lot of people about their excitement in the gardening season and maybe some of the things that they want to do when it comes to Earth stewardship. And so take some time this weekend. What a great opportunity to go out into your garden or to look at your little seedlings as they're growing inside, and maybe take some time and space to really appreciate the present, knowing that it will always be changing. and that there's beauty in it all, right?
This is like a little hidden garden area that we're in. Come to our booth and you can sit here, like get a coffee, get a snack, and just come sit here and hide away from everything. And you're surrounded by green. I promise I won't bug you. I won't say a word. I'll just shut up and I'll let you enjoy.
Okay, honestly, I thought you were going to say the opposite, because if anything, you're more likely to be found in here. So if you're looking for Colin, look in the secluded area in the middle of the core, downtown Calgary, for Earth Week.
This podcast is brought to you by Golden Acre Home and Garden. Find seasonal inspiration for your home and garden in Calgary, Alberta year-round. Visit goldenacre.ca. The comments and opinions expressed by the Helpful Gardeners on this show are our own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Golden Acre Home and Garden. For more information on everything we covered today and to leave us a voice note, visit goldenacre.ca/podcast. The Helpful Gardeners are on Instagram at The Helpful Gardeners Pod. Keep on growing, gardeners!